Welcome to INS, the International News Service, your source for the most important weird news from across the globe. With news analyst Kevin Harrison, actor, comedian, and musician Mike Wiebe, and professional commentator Brian Camp. INS, the news you need.
Patrick, this is Brian, and there's Kevin, and this is Pat. We call him Peasy sometimes.
You call him what?
Hell yeah.
Peasy.
Easy.
Peasy is a name that people know me as.
All right. Where you at, Pat?
I'm in Austin.
Okay, cool.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, where y'all at?
Austin.
Austin, that's what's up.
Brian's in Austin. Kevin's in Denton, Texas.
Yeah, that's right. It's north of you.
Yeah.
Home of the Fighting Eagles.
Yeah, and the Pioneers.
Yeah.
Yep, that's my alma mater. The
That's
Texas
right.
Women's University Pioneers.
You were in the basketball team, right?
I was not on the basketball team. Did not make a lot of friends there.
That's weird. That's weird. It seems like the perfect place for you.
It was weird,
So
people,
sorry.
because I really did, Pat. I really did graduate from Texas Women's University.
Oh, word.
My dad. Yeah, my dad. It's a college. My dad. I went to a couple other colleges, but I never just did very good. And then my dad worked there, so it was like super cheap. I went and it was like I got a year and a half of like classes, and I can graduate with a degree that I'm almost never going to use again. So I went. They did allow guys at this point, but it was a very bosom buddy situation. I had to dress in drag with my best friend.
Did the superintendent, like the crusty old dean, come walking around? To be a chick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that was crazy because he started to fall in love with me, and I had to navigate that whole situation.
Would he ever chase you through like the main halls, and you'd be going out of one door, and he'd come out the other one?
Yeah.
Dude,
And then at some point, it gets so confusing that I was chasing him.
It's just crazy how the rules just break down in a chaos like situation.
Yeah.
I like that every show ends the same way Benny Hill ends. That's what I like. Little yakety sax.
The season 5 of The Wire just ends in a Benny Hill. Just in and out the row houses and shit.
Would have been better.
Welcome to the International News Service. We're your hosts. I'm Kevin Harrison, along with...
I am Brian Camp.
I'm Mike Wiebe. And right now we have a special guest. We have our special guest. Fuck you guys.
This is embarrassing.
It's one of our, now that we are a podcast 2.0, we're more professional. We have special correspondents. This is our scams and lies correspondent.
Yeah. In Game of Thrones, your counts like the master of bullshit.
Yes, the master of BS. Yeah. Pat Sirois, everybody.
Hello. How y'all doing, man?
Pat lives in Austin. He has a great podcast called Lie, Cheat, Steal.
Lie, Cheat, and Steal. And Steal.
I couldn't remember if it was Lie, Cheat, Steal or Lie, Cheat, and Steal.
Lie, Cheat, ampersand, steal.
Way to do your research, Mike.
You got any comments in there?
No joke. It is one of my despite nepotism, not with counting. It is one of my favorite.
It's not nepotism.
Yeah, it's
no, I'm related. Me and Pat are related. He's my child.
I didn't realize. Well, now that you mention it, I gotta say a little bit of a similarity there.
We're both handsomes, but it's a super fun podcast about bullshit and scammers and all the type of things that I think me and Brian have talked a lot about wanting to become a bit of a artful dodgers.
Huh?
You want to have some street urchins that do your dirty work?
Ooh. An unholy child army, man. That's power. That's
right. You just have 1 degree of separation between you and the cops, right? That's one. Yeah. The more you get from that, the better. I mean, that's everyone I can think of.
Yeah. I don't care how many orphans you caught pickpocketing. Leave my porch immediately.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know you.
Yeah.
Hey, so do you talk about modern day scams? Are they scams in history, or is it the full gamut?
Oh,
we
right.
go over just the last one we did was for our Patreon was a Santa Claus bank robbery, which happened in Cisco, Texas in 1927. And then the week before that, we were doing an Instagram couple who was like we're Bitcoin scammers and shit like that. So we're all over as far as time period goes. But we do a couple that are like a lot older than you would think. Like we have ones about like stolen thrones in the 13th century and shit like that.
Wow.
So
nice.
yeah. We'll get into it's just whatever strikes. It's the tagline is it's a podcast about liars, frauds, thieves, and bullshitters. So whatever falls into that category. We tend to stay away from like murder, true crime, anything that involves murder. But every now and then you got to get it in there. We've actually
I was gonna say that might be a hook because I don't know if any podcasts are doing that.
Oh yeah.
Not really. Yeah.
I haven't heard that.
You might think about that.
That's crazy. We've been tiptoeing around it. I thought it was too taboo, and then nobody would make a comedy podcast about it.
Yeah, you don't want to bum people out when they're driving to work.
No, right.
Yeah, I listened to so much. When I link back up with Mike out in the social scene around Austin, we always talk about we listen to some of the more like the less pick of the litter true crime podcast because we listen to a lot. So we end up listening to like some that are just garbage. And like I can always bond with Mike over just like real trashy true crime podcasts.
Yeah.
Can you give us an example or
one that I like listening to is one I stopped listening to. It's called True Crime Garage. Oh, and that just was like it was these dudes from fucking Columbus, Ohio, and they're called the Captain and the captain and the scout or the admiral. Anyways, when they go, it has a beer sound and it opens up. He goes, crack open a cold one, step in the garage. Let's talk some true crime. It's like very dude-centric true crime. It's like, what's up, brothers? Fucking, just be looking at chicks and shit. And one's dead. It's a very bro down podcast. There's that one.
I used to listen to Sword and Scale.
That
guy got like in the early. That was like one of the first like a decade ago. But I started to get the vibe like I think you're jacking off to these murders, man.
Dude, I know exactly. There was one episode where it was like that kills like a Cannibal Cop type thing where the guy would write fake cannibalism tales, and he would use a little vocoder box like to speak in his digital voice. And so he thanked the guy who helped him do that, like the computer guy who helped him make the digital voice thing. And then he prank called him on the next episode and kind of joked about killing the guy's kids using the vocoder box thing. And the guy was like, okay, man. Thanks. It was, and he decided to run with it. He's like, yeah, put that in the show. That's hilarious.
Jesus Christ.
I stopped like in the like single digits episodes, but it was just like this guy's such a douchebag.
Yeah, he got a little I don't know, just a little ghoulish at one point. But there's some crazy shit. Like one he played, it was some kid murdered some like a 18-year-old murdered like a 5-year-old. And it was a pretty crazy story where like they couldn't figure out who did it because it was just like a random kid like I want to murder somebody, and they end up like the cops are like, hey, if anybody even if you just know a person in this area that acted funny at all one day because we don't got nothing. And so somebody's like, this weird kid lives down there, and they go and they had found like some of the girls like clothes, and they went to like get some blood for the DNA. And so the kid comes home and he's freaking out. And then most of the podcast is him calling the cops 911 and just like confessing and just having a complete mental breakdown about like it's all crashing in at that moment. Oh, wow. And then the caveat to the story was just that like they completely fucked up all the samples, so he never would have got caught. Like the DNA, they never would have figured it out.
Oh shit! I love the ones where like the host like weirdly injects themselves into like some small town, and like the Up and Vanished is like the king of that shit.
Yeah.
That dude just rolls into a place, he's knocking on people's doors, and he's just. Then the third season, he wanted to break his the missing white woman chain, so he did the missing indigenous woman in Montana, and he was like running up on people's porches and getting guns pulled on. Shit. I was like, dude, you are gonna get yourself shot out there, dude. There's some wild ones out there because there's so much. People will listen to it. So there's so much shit coming out that's just like irresponsible or just bad.
Some like it'll be the coolest artwork you've ever seen, and then you listen and it's some guy that like I don't know what they recorded it on their like iPhone 3 or something. Man,
Yeah. I love when it's just somebody who has like a professional job who stumbled in some free time, like during the quarantine. They're just like, I'm a white woman and somebody in my hometown got murdered and now I work from home. So I'm diving back in. Like, it's just their vanity project.
Yeah. They'll probably be the ones that solve the murder, though. I think I'd probably put some soccer moms on a case before the cops in Austin.
Yeah, there's that one dude from Up and Vanished. His career got like solidified out the gate because the crime he was investigating got solved while he was doing the season, and it had nothing to do. It was none of his leads. It was nobody he was even close to on the trail of. But it just so happened while he was doing the podcast, the shit got solved, and his career was just boom. And now he just does them every couple of years. Does another one and can until he dies.
We need to solve something, fellas.
Yeah, man.
Hey, we solve mysteries every week.
I'm trying to figure out my own life. After I get that, then I'm going to figure everything else out.
Yeah.
Well, there's your self-help book on the heels of the self-help book.
That's true.
Crime.
You guys ready to get started here?
Oh, sure.
So this week, we've got scam expert Pat Sirois from the Lie, Cheat, and Steal podcast. We're going to talk about 2 news stories, and then we're going to discuss some scams with Pat.
Yeah, so just a real friendly town hall.
Yeah, that's right. You better be taking notes. So our first story comes to us from The Independent. One of the few...
skateboard trunk company?
No, the newspaper, The Independent.
I know, but they have a newsletter.
The hard-hitting journalism.
Are they based out of Santa Cruz, California?
No, London.
That's right. Did you read this in the back of the 1987 issue of Thrasher?
Yeah. Was this written by Christian Assoy?
Oh, he killed somebody, right?
No.
What?
Christian Assoy went to jail for drug trafficking.
Yeah.
It wasn't kids, though, somebody. Yeah, Gator killed someone.
Gator gave me a sticker at a competition, probably pre-murder, I think, but...
Day of.
I like to think game peep game though, you know.
So one of the silver linings of the COVID-19 pandemic is that many companies, including my own, have found huge benefits in shifting from in-person offices to allowing employees to work from their own homes. A few weeks ago, a TikTok account dedicated to working from home, or rather, this one was dedicated to working from the beach. And it was, so the woman who runs it was working from the beach when she posted a video of a man who really brought his A game to remote working. The man, who was dressed casually, pulled a green screen out of his backpack. Then he attached it to 2 wooden poles behind him. The goal was apparently that if he was called into an impromptu meeting, he could set up his home office as his background using the green screen behind him. And then he could proceed to take the meeting while actually enjoying a day at the beach. Most commenters praised the man for working smarter, not harder, while others wondered how he'd get Wi-Fi or cover up the sound of the waves. However, this working remotely from anywhere but home scam may not be the perfect crime. For example, in July, another remote worker went viral on TikTok when he received an impromptu meeting invite from his manager to join a video meeting while the worker was secretly on a flight instead of working remotely. That video received 1 million views.
Whoa.
It's 1 million views.
I know.
That's a win right there, right?
Yeah. Who needs a job and you got 1 million views?
That's right. Yeah. All it takes is cheating at work. Shit.
Yeah, that should be huge.
We're millions in the hole right now, I think.
I do not know how, because it's a lighting issue. How are you gonna look like you're in an office or whatever? But the good thing about remote stuff is now, like, I don't even think any of that's a scam anymore for most jobs. Like, if you work remote, it means you work wherever. You don't have to be at home. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
No, we at my office, we have video meetings, but everybody but the speaker is supposed to have their camera off because I don't want to watch you eating spaghetti or whatever. And so we could still do it from.
I'd pay to see a couple ladies eat spaghetti. You know, like that's my fetish. Is
real messy, real sloppy, like the noodle, like a lot of slurping and stuff.
Marinara or Alfredo sauce.
Alfredo, of course.
Yeah, marinara just looks like blood at that point.
Yeah. That's a different fetish. That's a different thing.
Yeah. That's for the Germans.
I just love that scene in Patch Adams. They dunked that old lady in the noodles. That'll get me right off, man.
Thank you for bringing up Patch Adams.
Work is, we're on such like at some point, like, it's really been cool. Like, I can kind of go on the road and still work now.
Yeah.
And it's like it's a weird time in the world that we can do that. That being said, you know, I feel bad for like the Jeffrey Toobins who is like, there but for the grace of God, go any of us.
Right.
You know, I don't think he did that. I don't think he did that thinking somebody's going to see this dirty fun act.
I mean,
I think he thought like, I turned off. Well, that meeting's over. I've got half an hour. Let's see what Riley Reid's up to. Let's see if Riley Reid started doing videos where she puts her feet in spaghetti.
I bet so. Kevin, isn't the real story of this, and Pat, you probably come across this a lot, not so much that this guy has come up with a way to appear as though he's doing something for his job that he's not doing, but that another human being filmed it and reported it in a way that he could be caught that way.
Yeah.
Like, if he gets caught on his own, that's on him. But who's this lady taking pictures of him, putting them on the internet?
She took him from a distance.
That's no class consciousness, no solidarity. Like,
right.
It's just like, dude, I don't. If I see you doing that, no, I didn't. Like, that's how it is for me. Like, I would never turn anybody in on that. That does suck.
It's your business.
Also, but to echo what Mike said, I don't see the point. If you're getting the work done, who gives a shit where you're at? Right. I guess, like. But I think that's just that thing. Like, I think these stories get sensationalized because there's like a lot of like really warring factions that are deeply invested on, do we shift to work from home or do we go back to office culture? And I think it's because nobody wants to lose those fucking real estate investments they have on these physical properties. Yeah. And so I think they're just driving up this idea that people don't like working from home or that it's wasteful. And that's my take on that one.
So what I hear you saying is real estate is the real scam.
Yeah.
Not wrong.
That's why I don't own a home.
Yeah. I don't want to get scammed.
Not gonna get me. Yeah, no thanks. Right. I like having 50 neighbors. Okay, so
that is the word. People that snitches, they deserve the stitches that are coming to them.
I would say leave them unstitched.
Yeah,
call me crazy.
There was this lady back in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I don't know if she's still on your local TV stations there, Kevin, but I remember Becky Oliver, Brian.
Yeah, was she like? Oh, didn't she like show up at like people's jobs and they were like a government employee who was late for work or something?
She was always just.
They went home at 4:00. I thought you were working till 5
like there'd be like meter maids or something, and she'd be like, "We filmed them for 3 hours just smoking at a park and not doing anything." I'm like, yeah, that's awesome.
And you didn't write one ticket.
Even when it was like be like, police officers, we watched them just sit around the parking lot for an hour. Like, yes, then it means they're not doing shitty things.
Right, true. Maybe there's nothing going on. Let them sit around.
Yeah, I get a little mad when I drive by and I see they got the cars facing each other and they're just like fucking talking about the Wordle that day or whatever. I get a little angry, but at the end of the day, I'm like, you know what? Better there than anywhere closer to anyone else. So.
Yeah, better there than paying attention to me or my car that has a 2020 registration still.
I
got laws. Yeah, I got laws to break. Yeah, buddy. I got shit to do. Stay in that church parking lot.
Bear claws.
Dude, I tweeted about this the other day, and like I wasn't clout chasing as the youngins call it, but I got mad about it. I got to HEB, it was raining, and I was putting in my earbuds to go into the shop, and this lady like beckoned me over, and I took my headphones out, and she was trying to help this homeless lady get out of the rain, and she was trying to put her little baby buggy that had a bunch of her shit in it into her minivan and couldn't lift it. So I went over there in the rain, me and her kind of worked together to move it in, and we get it put in there. And I turn around, and one of those HEB overtime cops is just under the pavilion, like on his phone. And I was like, man, fuck you, dude. Just like, that's all. I don't know. I got a little mad about it, but yeah. I was like, give that motherfucker like a mop and a bucket or something. Like, do something for just like clean the windows. I don't know. Do something.
I've talked to it because when I worked at Buzzmill, there's a bar in Austin, and there's a coffee shop. So cops would come in all the time, and we give them free coffee because there was always some shit popping off, and it actually came in handy a couple times. If there was monitors there, but I kind of got to know some of them, and I'm not full of hate, but I'm also not going to wear a Blue Lives Matter shirt or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, maybe it's just because I got friendly with a handful of them, but they were definitely, because some were just like scary adrenaline junkies that were ready to just like, that were kind of, I mean, one was telling me about how he got in like this SWAT firefight, and I was like, man, it must have been hard to go to sleep after that. He's like, nah, dude, it was fun. It was really, it was exciting. But they were all telling me that there's lots of gigs that were just total, like, even easier than the HEB gig, you know, where it's just like they just drive around, like hang out at like bus stops and stuff, and just kind of go to sleep.
If your neighborhood's bad enough, Church's Chicken will just go, hey, just like so you camp out overnight, like a little gas station, fun security guards. You can, you're a cop, you can get some overtime hours out there.
Yeah, probably get some free biscuits.
Oh yeah, I do. I grew up with a guy that ended up being a San Antonio cop, and we hung out one night. And he got so drunk on 6th Street that he definitely flashed his gun at somebody in an argument.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And the guy was like, what do you do? Shoot me on 7th Street? And he was like, and then he just showed his badge. Like, I'll just have you fucking taken to jail. Like, it was a wild night. I hadn't seen him since high school. And that's what he was getting up to with his law enforcement credentials.
I don't like cops and when they're doing bad cop behavior, but then when it goes to full bad lieutenant shit, I'm kind of like, nah, that's kind of cool though. Like, if you're a cop and you're harassing me, fuck you. But if you do smoking crack and wandering around naked, flashing a piece, like, that's kind of funny.
Man, this is slightly off topic. When you want smoking crack, I was just thinking about fucking the Toronto mayor. And just one of the bizarre thing was the mayor of Toronto got caught smoking crack with gang members.
Oh, shit. Rob Ford?
Yeah, Rob
Ford. Yeah. But and he was just like, he had like all the energy of like, I don't know, like drunk neighborhood dad hanging out with two black teenagers. He's like, you guys motherfuckers can talk like this, okay? All right. He was having so much fun. It was so great. I loved it.
Connecting with his constituents.
Yeah,
that's right.
I love that there's like multiple like incidences of mayors getting caught smoking crack on camera.
I know. Because like crack is the scariest one of all the drugs.
Least cost effective, zero return. You know, it's just like, on the user end, of course.
It's got to be pretty great, though.
There's no cool musicians.
Yeah, because you don't have time. It's full. It's like heroin. I feel like you can like shoot up and you can just like plug your guitar for like 6 or 7 hours on the couch. But like crack, like you don't have time to make and produce music when you're also smoking crack.
Right?
Yeah,
because it's great. I think y'all are looking at this the wrong way.
How should they look at it, Brian?
Any drug that makes you 100% unproductive is the best drug. Like that's what you're going for, right? Like if it takes the place of everything and you keep doing it, then you found the one.
Wow, it's true love.
But you made some strong points for crack, man.
I've always been known as very pro crack. So
you're like the thank you for smoking guy, but for crack.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Naylor, that's what it was.
We were just talking about Alf before the podcast started, and I don't know if you know this. There is footage of Max Wright, the actor who played Willie, smoking crack with some male prostitutes.
Oh, I do remember that.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
And also, he's not the same actor who played Mr. Drummond on Different Strokes.
No, who would have mistaken?
But they're very similar.
No,
They do look like
very
they do
similar.
have bird-like faces.
They're like 20 years apart.
Yeah, but they both look like human white man roosters.
Yeah,
okay.
Because of their time periods really overlap. So in your head, you're like, was that guy just 35 for 28 years?
Right.
It just like it just went on through the spans of two people.
Yeah.
The guy who played Paul Kettle got a time machine.
Way to make our most obscure reference ever, Brian.
That's not that obscure. You got to watch the Egg and I. We got to talk about the Egg and I for a while.
You start with the Egg and I, and then you go through the Ma and Pa Kettle movies. There's like 15 of them.
There's a whole bunch of them. And that voice, because the Ma Kettle voice was used on Looney Tunes cartoons for a clucking hen many times. Oh, I can't do it.
You know, Mom and Pa
yeah.
Kettle, Pat.
Mom and Pa, no, that's not ringing a bell. Mom and Pa Kettle.
So we're all fucking old on this podcast and shit. And
I was not alive when this came out.
But still, like it's still of that
4-channel TV era.
Yeah, it was like there's a handful
right.
of channels, and this was like a weird, like it was Saturday mornings after cartoons on like the weird affiliate, like not network channel, but like the weird local station.
Yeah.
They would play like sometimes they play like old like horror, Universal horror movies, like monster, like Godzillas and stuff. But I remember like for one run they would always show this. They're called Mom and Pa Kettle movies, and I don't even know when they were shot, by the 50s, I guess. And it was just about
like the 30s and 40s.
Yeah, I've definitely heard the name Mom and Pa Kettle referenced as like some old shit. I know that.
Yeah. They were just they're like they made all these movies, probably like 15, about this hillbilly family who had like shit tons of kids, and the dad was real old and the mom was just this and there was always a subplot with some of the teenage kids and
was this like a bunch of like offensive like Appalachian stereotypes and shit?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
But they weren't offensive back then, so it's okay.
Yeah, it was fine back then. And
back then, no one was
surprised if there were some other racial stereotypes that popped up that I don't remember of some side characters. Because we're not doing it today. We'll occasionally do trying to do a get to know your podcast and try to talk about the random things that get referenced. And we actually did Little Rascals recently, and how like all the Little Rascals like died in tragic ways. But your name came up in that like you have the voice of what could be a Little Rascals. Like you'd be gravelly.
Yeah. I'd be like it's like the studio would buy me as like a horrible child.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that's right.
Give them more cigarettes, make them sound fucking worse.
Yeah. Totally give you some red bennies to keep acting, to keep running around, chasing Darla.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. It's like oh, you're starting to get that stubble going on. It's like chemically castrated or some shit.
Yeah.
So, you guys ready for our next story?
Yes, ready.
Yeah. Okay. So our next story comes to us from the BBC.
The Bad Boys Club.
The Bad Boys Club.
Ooh, what are they getting up to?
Recently, a widow of an art collector in Brazil began giving away most of her artwork when she discovered it was cursed. Or more precisely, a psychic told her that her daughter was ill, and the reason for it was cursed artwork. The psychic then began removing the artwork while saying it needed to be prayed over. Eventually, police in Rio de Janeiro caught wind of this and began to investigate. That's when they discovered that the daughter was not ill, and instead, she had hired an accomplice to impersonate a psychic.
I was an impersonator psychic. Like, no, we wouldn't have the money to get a real psychic. We had to get an impersonator. Yeah.
Right. Well, who can afford a psychic in this economy?
Isn't every psychic impersonating a psychic?
That's fair.
There's Sylvia Brown, and that's it. She's the only real one.
Yeah. Sylvia. Yeah, Sylvia. I remember her smoking on Montel. She'd always be on Montel all the time. Just like smoking on there and just being like, we're going to figure out the cancer gene soon. It's a gene. It's a thing with a gene.
Yeah, she was super old looking, right?
Yeah, but she was like
catcher's mitt old.
But she was also like smoking lady old, she had cigarette face and cigarette body, like just
she was
kind
actually younger than us.
I wouldn't be surprised.
She was rough for 26.
A lot of sun, a lot of cigarettes,
and a lot of sass. So wait, let me recap that story for me again. It can't be illegal to go tell some like doofus that, hey, I'm psychic, your dead grandma wants to give me money. That's not illegal, is it?
If you steal from people by deception.
Yeah.
Where they catch them up, we've noticed on the show a lot where they get tripped up is wire fraud. Wire fraud, you can kind of overlay any scam where if like the behavior itself wasn't like illegal, but if you obtained like a money transfer through fraudulent means, that can be covered under wire fraud laws.
But what can prove? I mean, because it's sort of like if you were wire frauding a priest, like how is that illegal?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's one of those things where like, what do you say to somebody? I mean, I guess I don't know. It's one of those murky areas. I don't know who would be. That is kind of things as a judge, be like, well, you shouldn't have done that. But I mean, also, you shouldn't have done that either. You know, like it feels like you're both at fault. That is crazy. I don't know how they would fall on that. Did they make a decision?
Yeah. What's the decision, Kevin?
Well, hold on. I have a question before we get to this. But yeah, so in this case, like the fraud is that the daughter wasn't ill and she was just using that as a pretext to get the paintings, which she then sold. So the whole premise of like, any crazy person can tell you anything and you can believe them. And as long as, you know, what they're telling you is what they believe, or they're following through at least with that, then that's not fraud. But if they're using that as a pretext just to steal from you, then it's definitely fraud.
Yeah.
Think TV preacher.
Yeah.
So a TV preacher can say that by sending money, they're going to pray and they're going to heal your child's blindness or anything else. But one, they carry through with the prayer they promise, and they do exactly what they say they're going to do. It doesn't really get you can't, no one guarantees results. So
I wonder if there's like a documentation process where they just like have to get a video. It's like, and this is me specifically praying for Timothy to get the candy. And he's like praying hand cut. And then if need be, like if like the ATM is like, I need to see your records. It's like gotta go get their records and shit.
There's just an accountant with a spreadsheet open. Tom Lombardo.
You have to videotape yourself going, "Dear God, please make," and then he like looks over, Karen's cancer. Which kind? Didn't say which kind. Just whatever cancer. I don't know where it is.
You probably group all the cancers together to knock those out. Like that's
probably
your Monday. You come in, you knock them all out, and then you go home early Thursday, and that's when you do like the Legionnaire's disease or the dengue fever, like the weird stuff, rabies. You're always hoping for a rabies because that'll make your week. You have a bingo card. We got a rabies.
Where do you file like the ones where they're praying for someone else to like get like physical harm? Like if they're like, please let my neighbor suffer a heart attack. Do you file that? Do you do it on video? Are you culpable at that point? That opens a lot of doors.
Yeah, is that culpable? That's like that crazy story about that girl. Like, I don't know, was her ex-boyfriend or just some dude who liked her who was like, I'm real depressed. I'm thinking about ending. She's like, you totally should. You should totally fucking kill yourself. Yeah. And then she did. And then he did. And then she got, I can't remember, she got in trouble for it. She definitely got
charged with some level of murder.
Yeah. And I don't know, like that weird thing of like, oh, she's legally, she's a fucking bitch. That's for sure. Like that's he's a legal bitch, but I don't know that that's actually like murder. Yeah. Though, you know,
you're a party.
Yeah. If I tell you like, hey, Mike, go rob a bank.
Okay.
And this is how you do it. And then you go and rob a bank. Then I've encouraged you to do that in a way and with detail enough that, you know, I'm kind of a collaborator.
Then can the movie Heat go to jail? Because that movie has made me want to rob a bank. I mean, I haven't robbed a bank, but if I do, I'm going to wear a suit. I'm going to wear like a dope tan suit. And I'm going to have a hockey mask on and a duffel bag.
Are you prepared for a rolling gunfight through a random downtown?
From Michael Mann. Is Michael Mann culpable?
Yeah. Watch that movie, Thief.
I just watched Thief recently.
Yeah,
I watched it like last week. It's so good.
Yeah, surprisingly good. Yeah. James Caan, before he was crippled James Caan. Maybe that's a movie that crippled. Did he get crippled on a movie?
I don't think he was crippled.
I think James Caan was crippled though.
He fucked his back up real bad. That's why he walked weird.
Oh, he walks weird in that movie. And that I actually thought, like, was that... I remember, because I literally watched that movie last week, and I thought maybe it was a character choice. Like, he was like, because his character was like, I did like 10 years in the hole and fucking fought the whole prison once or whatever. He had some backstory. I was like, oh, maybe it was a character choice, but...
I was going to say he was in that movie, Killer Elite, that I think came up before, and he's like doing karate and stuff. He's all moving around and flipping stuff around.
He's doing karate and Bottle Rocket, too.
Yeah, he's like, I fucked up my back going to I fucked my back up going to the Long Island Expressway. Like my sister was getting her ass put by her husband, right? And I had to go intervene. And it turns out I got shot up in the fucking toll booth. So like, back's been on the skits ever since.
My dad's crying since I got massacred.
All right, so back to the story. So the woman The woman is a widow of an art dealer.
She's probably a Nazi. She's in Argentina, right?
No, this is Brazil.
Well, they're Nazis too.
Yeah.
Oh, don't tell them that. We do have Brazilian listeners, by the way.
Oh, do we really?
But none in Argentina.
I just look, if I hear art collection in South America, I immediately think probably it's someone who fled.
So there's the widow of the art dealer. She's
II.
got a bunch of art. Psychic is telling her it's cursed, and that's what's making the daughter ill. Police investigate. The daughter's not ill. She hired somebody to impersonate a psychic. And then once the police had the paintings, the thieves had the paintings, they sold them to galleries. Police said 16 paintings had been sold, valued at $140 million, with just 3 of those paintings valued at $138 million.
Were any of them NFT apes?
The daughter, the psychic, and 5 other alleged accomplices face charges of embezzlement, robbery, extortion, false imprisonment, and criminal association.
But she got away with this by saying, like, your paintings are cursed.
Your cursed paintings are making your daughter ill.
Right.
Yeah.
So the daughter pretended to be ill, and
Right.
then her accomplice, fake psychic, showed up and said, so the daughter already knew mom was crazy and was likely to listen to anyone who claimed to be a psychic.
Right.
And that's what led to the entire. Now, what I don't, my guess is, Pat, this is a question for you because this seems to be the case as well with scams like this.
Right.
If these paintings sold for over $100 million, my guess is that this lady and her daughter weren't living in a dirt hut.
Yeah.
That this was about having, I have a lot of money, but I want more money, and how dare you not let me? There's like this.
Yeah.
You almost have to believe you're owed this somehow.
Yeah.
It's like a weird thing.
Yeah, it's like some like the one of the steps along going full Menendez.
Yeah.
It's like is swindling the fucking paintings. Yeah, that is crazy. I think that I wonder what legal process was done to where they could distinguish from the mom saying, because the painting sold for $130 million. What do they have saying that those were theirs to sell? The mom could be like, no, I let, if it's all like, if there's no documentation, I don't think she signed them over. If she's like, yeah, I let them borrow my paintings, they sold them, at the very least of entitled to some of that money. I wonder if she would have a leg to stand on there. Because like, it just seems that she could be like, yeah, well, they were never theirs to sell. They could be like, well, you gave them to us. There's no way to check it either way.
Yeah, no, like whoever the galleries that the galleries received stolen property, so the mom is getting the paintings back, probably.
Oh, okay. Who wants to keep the fucking paintings? I'll take a picture of the painting. Give me the $130 million. Like, I'm just it's the same thing. It's
and I'm sure they sold them for a lot less than $140 million. I'm sure that it was like, hey, do you want a $40 million painting? I'll let you have it for $4 million.
Yeah. You don't sell stolen shit.
I mean, I'll take the 4. Don't get me wrong.
Well, the paintings, I believe, was the dogs playing poker. I imagine one was it's like Nighthawks at the diner, but instead of it's James Dean and Marilyn Monroe, and they're in that diner late at night, Humphrey Bogart.
Yeah. What if it's like one of those like those blankets you buy on the side of the highway where it's got like every organized crime movie figure on there. It's like the cast of Godfather, like the cast of fucking A Bronx Tale. They're all just like having dinner. It's like Tony Soprano's in the middle holding the glass, and it's all like a tiger skin rug that you buy at the fucking flea market. I like that. That's classy.
Oh, man,
super classy. For that.
Those paintings where it's Jesus, like a ghostly Jesus reaching over Trump and helping him write a bill or something. I always wanted to make one of those with the same level, because they're actually like, whatever you say, like they're proportional. They're drawn well. Like I couldn't paint that good of anything, but I always wanted them to do one with that same skill level where it's Jesus and he's reaching down, but he's jerking off Trump. I felt that would be I have so many relatives I would like to send that to.
It's the one from the Outcry in the Barrio shit where he's taking the heroin shot for the guy. You see that one?
Yeah.
Dude shoot up and it's Jesus putting his arm out, but it's just like Trump, I don't know, like shooting up with fucking Jesus.
Yeah.
It's just Jesus he's snorting the Adderall for him.
Yeah. Outcry in the Barrio. That's probably Outcry. That's a good scam question. Is Outcry in the Barrio a scam?
And you know what? I don't know. I've seen it for so long. I think it's one of those things where like behind it is generally like a church or a ministry,
Right.
and they just have luck getting people to come in off of those things because they've been doing it for a while, so they must have some level of success.
Our churches
Yeah.
are ministry scams, Michael.
Well, that's the whole. That's the whole.
It's not legit like the rest of Christian heaven.
Yeah. It's not like the power team. I mean,
they're not ripping any phone books in half. But
Yeah.
Hey guys, seriously, they're very strong.
well, yeah.
It's hard to believe they're that strong without some sort of divine intervention.
Yeah.
They've been pans in half.
yeah,
That guy blew up a hot water bottle with his lungs.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. How do you even exercise your lungs? I guess it's cardio. But
He can't smoke.
Oh, now I want to see a painting of a guy blowing up a hot water bottle with like a little translucent Satan trying to squeeze it together.
Maybe you should explain to the listeners outside of the U.S. what the power team is, Brian.
Oh, the power team was a group of red-blooded American men who come to public schools all over America for an assembly and show you the power of God and how it helps them tear phone books in half and bend frying pans together and of course blow up a hot water bottle, which I'm sure even at the point they were doing it, even though they probably bought 100 hot water bottles a year, and they had to be the chief consumer of hot water bottles in the United States. Nobody fucking uses those here.
Yeah, it's like one of those facts you find out. But Pizza Hut bought all the kale until 1994 or whatever.
Yeah.
Does the power team get all? It was the power team of like 4 grandmothers buying all the hot waters.
Yeah, that is such a mom pa kettle thing. Those old water bottles, like.
Yeah, like my grandma, like I saw her the other day, and she'll always try to offer me something like that, like some remedy thing. She's like, I got a Vicks vaporizer. You need it? And I'm like, no, I'm good.
Yeah. Then the power team would also, I'm sure, end every. I never actually saw them, but I'm sure they ended everyone with like, I bet you guys think that we're real strong. We're a bunch of real strong guys here, but this strength that we have, it's nothing compared to the power of God.
Yeah. Yeah, he can rip fucking 4 phone books in half.
And that would be another great painting. Dude, 4 phone books.
You find out that heaven is just like praising God for eternity, like when they actually tell you what biblical heaven is. Like, oh, you just praise God for eternity. You just watch God rip phone books and shit for eternity. Like, that's heaven. He's just punching through flaming boards.
You better cheer. Oh, you better cheer.
God doing crazy basketball dunks.
Yeah. Dude, yeah, he's like one of those traveling extreme sports teams where it was like they had 2 scooter guys, rollerbladers, a couple skateboarders, and they set up a ramp at like county fair. They could all do backflips. And so they would just do like 40 backflips an hour for like the whole day.
Oh man, praise him.
Yeah, praise me, man. Dude, at the end of those one people though, you said they all got charged with all that theft and all this stuff, but they also got charged with associating with criminals.
Well, I think it's creating a criminal assation, making a syndicate.
They're like, we're gonna charge you for this. We're gonna charge y'all for fucking being friends, obviously.
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck y'all think y'all can just know each other like that.
I do have a question for you, which is, so while I was writing this, I saw another story where some guy in Australia won $17 million at the lottery, and then he was scammed out of all of it by a psychic. And do psychics, are they super common in scams?
They pop up. What's funny is I've seen them. If somebody has done a thing where their whole life has been pretty much one big scam, we'll have stories like that. Like this kid who pretended to be like a Saudi Arabian prince, even though he was like a Colombian dude. And he pretended to be a Saudi prince for like 3 decades. And it's usually when people have that weird ass lifetime hustle of being a scam artist. If you dig deep enough, there's a time when they scam somebody by posing as a psychic. It's a weird common thread that goes between them. Like, we did a story about a lady that scammed a Shark Tank producer. And the Shark Tank producer ended up subscribing to our Patreon just to tell us to cease and desist.
Wow.
And then he wrote us back, and he was I was so bad for the guy. He goes, my lawyer told me to to listen to the podcast, listen for instances of falsehoods. He's like, and something happened. I fell in love with you guys. And he's like, I hope you'll understand. I'll have to discontinue the Patreon subscription because it's too stressful to listen to. It's like, but fucking, yeah, he got it. Anyways, but that guy, the lady that hit him, fucking when you dig back in her history, the scam she did before him was she was a fake online psychic in LA, and she had nothing but one-star reviews because people were like, this bitch is fake. And it was just, yeah. And it wasn't her main gig. But if you just dig a little bit further, a lot of these people, the common thread is they've posed as a psychic at some point. It just happens.
But it is that, and not to be too like stoned in a college freshman dorm room, but like, isn't that just what religion is, man? But like, seriously, like it is just like, I mean, maybe, I don't know how you know, like legitimately tell like, well, I've predicted the cards correctly 4 times. I'm a legitimate psychic versus like, I'm a fake. Cause it's just like saying like, no, I see your aura and it's this kind of shit or whatever. And I mean, but that's a priest is going like, no, I can talk to God, and he went to a school that certifies him a priest or whatever, but like he's still this kind of the same thing. Like, I need you to give money to me. I mean, it's to the whole church, but I want you to give me money because I talked to the guy upstairs and he tells me messages to trickle down to you heathens.
I think with the psychics, what people go to them for is like, whether they're accurate or not, I think good ones and ones that resonate with their clients do a good job of just promoting an environment that the person feels like, you know what, I really felt they were empathetic. I felt like they were asking me like probing questions. And I would imagine if you went to a quote unquote fake psychic, they probably wouldn't be that empathetic, or they wouldn't make their person feel comfortable or feel like they had this experience where they're like, oh, I feel like they might have been saying something, because they're just legit not connecting with the person because they're just in it to like scam them. So maybe people's intuition can just be like, yeah, this person seemed like they were full of shit. This person, I gave her $50, but she drank tea with me for an hour and got to know me and said some stuff that was relatively poignant. And at the end of the day, that's what I'm looking for. This person couldn't even do that. One star.
Yeah. A good psychic is just a therapist that can talk to ghosts.
Yeah.
Spooky therapist.
Yeah, just a spooky therapist.
But I mean, isn't people who have a psychic and they keep going back? I mean, they're going for the same reason that people go to therapy, right? Or people who meet with their preacher person every week, right? It's the same. Yeah. They're scratching the same itch, and so it's the line about, you know, pornography. I know it when I see it. Like there is, whether you're a therapist, you're a preacher, like anyone whose job is engendering trust from the person they're talking to. If that's the way they make money, they have to create this arbitrary line that they won't allow themselves to go over, because it's not a scam until it is, right? And then we all agree, like, again, TV preacher, that's a scam. But small town preacher who they collect coats for the neighborhood and churches do lots of charitable stuff, and psychics, you know, help a lot of people, or they collect millions of dollars worth of art and sell it.
Well, my co-host one time, she put it well. She's like, my host, wonderful comic, Kath Barbadoro, hosts the show with me, but she's like, you know, one of the smartest people I know, and she talks about, you know, she'll routinely go to psychics or like go to, like, you know, get their tarot cards read, and she was like, at the very least, it just provides you with like a pegboard to kind of like, you have to when you hear their predictions, it forces you to kind of take account of your own life, do a little introspection, and maybe, you know, like get you to thinking about what the fuck it is, why you can't wake up in the morning or whatever you go to psychics for to help you with.
We had a tarot card reader come on the show one time, and Shelby, and yeah, it felt like it is, because you're putting your personality on this thing, so you're definitely, it is a similar deal. But psychics, anytime I've ever been to a psychic, I'm always just like, what is? Because I've been to a handful, and I don't know. It's never. I just want to see lasers or something come out of their eyes.
Smoke. Yeah.
You see that one on 35 when you're coming in on 35? It's like in North Austin. It's been there for decades. Yeah. My chick was telling me that they went in there to get a reading one time, and like that lady is like mighty proud of her fucking psychic abilities. And
really?
They wanted, like, I don't know what is too expensive for a tarot card reading, but she was charging it.
Wow.
Maybe it's like art, though. You know, you just go in, we talk a lot about art, about like like goofy stories about a guy that tapes a banana up to the wall and sells it for like literally like $200,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
And maybe the same with psychics. Like, no, I'm the best one. I just am. You just call it and then you see it.
The worst thing you can do is probably you're going to cheat yourself out of business, or people aren't going to think you're authentic if it's a good deal.
Yeah.
Like it's
you got to find the sweet spot.
Right. That's I mean, that's pricing. I mean, that's got to be a big part of it too, right? Of any kind of scandal, you got it. And again, this is maybe for you, Pat. It just seems like when they get to be really good and really effective, it's a lot of fucking work. Right?
Yeah.
Like the work, there's a ton of work in doing it right.
Well, you get embedded, and then you got to keep all your lies up in the air.
Yeah.
Keep everybody jumping the way you need them to be jumping.
We call it our other show. We actually have a term for that. We call it the Henry Hill moment. And it's like that day where Henry Hill gets popped when he's just like, I got to go stir the sauce. I got to go buy the silencers. I'm doing cocaine. I'm driving. There's helicopters. And it's like that moment right before they're like, freeze, motherfucker. It's like that moment in time. We've dubbed it the Henry Hill moment. Yeah. And there's some people where it's like not until the end. And there's some schemes where they're so complex. You're just like, yo, this dude's whole entire adult life was one big Henry Hill moment. Like he was just spinning plates from when he like started the scam until he died. Like Bernie Madoff, for example.
Yeah.
When you get Bernie Madoff, it wasn't like he had a golden time where he was just having a great time. He was pretty much just covering his ass for decades. Like he was not like the money was there, but he wasn't able to breathe easy his entire adult life.
Yeah.
It's such a weird way to like people like that, like Madoff. It's just like you're playing a character, and I guess you forget. It's something pathological, I guess.
Yeah.
You just like you're playing this character, and you just start. Like I've only met a few like legit pathological liars in my life, and I was always like I kind of always wanted to hang out with them a little bit more because they were fascinating. Because there were people that would lie about weird things they did not need to lie about, where it wasn't like because some people will lie like career stuff to make them seem bigger, or just like alpha stuff, all the chicks they got, whatever, to make them seem. But these were people that would lie about just weird shit. Prove it immediately that was untrue. Like just bold-faced stuff. I mean, it's kind of like the weird, like honestly, like the weird, like the Trump stuff that like blows me away, where he can just say a thing and go like, "I said this and it didn't happen," and people are like, "No, that's right, he said that." And I think he's just like projecting confidence. But like some of the pathological people that I was around, I'm thinking mostly this dude I worked with at Best Buy for a while. This was like 2 decades ago, and this motherfucker would just come in and just talk about things that happened over the weekend that were just like physically implausible, and like just like it was insane.
Give us an example.
Well, he would talk about how his mom was Jerry Jones' personal assistant, and he got on a plane and like flew with her to a game and was hanging out with like all the players and just insane shit where you'd be like, well, you went to the game on Sunday and then you flew home on Sunday night.
He must have been the store manager.
11 o'clock shift here, and the game was in Washington D.C. Just like why go for this? Why are you going for this in the break room to me, who doesn't care about football? Like it's just like
that is a weird lie to tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like, listen, Jerry, I got to get back to Best Buy. He's like, come on, Steve, come out. The whole team loves you. He's like, no, I know. Tell him I said goodbye. I used to work with a guy at a food truck job, and he was like a little bit older than me. He was like, at the time I was in my early 30s. He was probably, I think he was early 40s. He was just a weird fucking dude. But he, whenever like a musician or a band was on, it was always like, like I know these guys, or I have a personal experience with these guys. And one time we were playing, it was always like rock artists. And one day we were playing like Houston rap, like Switch House stuff. And he's like, you guys all used to live in Houston, right? We were like, yeah. He goes, yeah, man, I used to, my friend was a DJ and record producer, and the whole Screw crew would come and hang out at my house. So like, that's not what they're called. Like, yeah. They were like, which ones? He's like, all of them. They were all there, man. All the ones you know and love. Everyone's favorite figures. And you're like, okay, like, do you have any names? Like, just the whole damn crew, brother.
You know what? I never learned their rap names. I just knew their real names. So it was like Jeff and Scott.
Yeah,
Right.
Tucker, and just like they're really great guys.
That is not a genre of music I know a lot about, but even I know better than to call them the Screw Crew.
Screw Crew.
Yeah,
The whole Screw Crew.
It was the whole
They were all
Screw
out.
Crew. Yeah. Like they all had like 30, 40 people who were just like obscure figures, like from Houston street life, that like some of them like drifted through the vocal booth occasionally in the late 90s, early 2000s, but they were just full-time crooks otherwise. Like, it's like, yeah, I just hung out with all those guys, man.
That's so good. I don't
know what causes people to do that. It's like that kid, like, you know, like the kid in school, like the Napoleon Dynamite type. Like my uncle works in the Secret Service and I shoot top secret guns on the weekends. And it's something about some people they scratch some kind of itch doing it. And it's baffling.
Like it makes sense that you would try that once or twice when you're a little kid, because I'm sure I did once or twice when I was a little kid.
I remember kids in their like crazy elaborate lies, and even at 5, when I don't have a lot of, if you tell me something and I'm 5 years old, I'm pretty much going to go, well, he said it, so it must be true.
Yeah.
But you know, there were these kids that would just go on, and you're like, no, there is no summer camp for G.I. Joe where I get to hang out with Snake Eyes and it's $5 for 2 months. I have $5.
I remember in the 5th grade, this kid was, somehow it came up amongst 5th graders that I was shocking, still a virgin. And,
hey, Mike's not fucking anybody. Can you believe it?
You're not smashing?
Yeah.
He asked if I was, and I admitted to that, and he clowned on me for a while. And then I was like, well, who have you with? And he was like, yeah, my dad took me to this special, it's a whorehouse, but it's just for kids. There's 2 levels. There's the adult level of the whorehouse and the kid level of the whorehouse. And it was like different parts of the same building, but like, we went in together. He went one way.
Yeah, just like the implication that there's a place out there just raping kids. And his dad took him there. He's like, oh yeah, my dad took me to the child sex shop.
Well, you're in 4th grade. You're old enough. Come get the car.
And that there would be like a clear line of like, no, sir, this is for 18 and under.
Yeah.
The clients are all the clients on the kid side. We're all kid clients.
Yeah.
Right.
It's the kid pimp. It's a kid door guy. The whole thing is kids. It's crazy.
It's a real Little Rascal situation.
Oh, it is. Did he? And I don't know how much detail he got into, but do you think he intended that he had sex with a older lady prostitute, or they also
he had
have
sex with a kid? It was all
so
the area that he went into. It was all it was all young prostitutes. I mean, I think he might have said she was like 13 or something like that.
No.
But it was all that. Yeah, like there was this area, and there was the adults prostitution area, and then the kids prostitution area.
I like the idea of a 5th grader going, yeah, she was really hot. She was an 8th grader.
Well, I mean, and I believe he didn't say a whorehouse. He called it a hoe house.
Billy, get your coat. I'm taking you to the hoe house.
Yeah.
How long did you believe this to be true, Mike? That's the
I feel like I was doubtful about it in the moment, but I did not press him or call him on it, because part of me was like, I don't know. I mean, maybe. I didn't have enough experience to know that. And I did, as a kid that was not very confident.
So funny to me.
It's hilarious. It's so funny. I know now. I kind of want to find him and go like, "That was a good fucking line, man. It's a real fun."
It is a lie that goes full circle, that you kind of hate him for a while. You think it's so stupid, but now looking back on, like, man, what
so funny.
I like the idea that you track this guy down and tell him it's a great story. And he's like, "What do you mean story?
What do you mean story?"
Like he's sticking to the lie.
Oh yeah.
Like 20 years later.
I'm
he's
trying
not
to
even
remember.
he's not even thinking about it like he survived it. He's like, no, it was tight. I crushed ass in there.
I'll take you there right now. Now you stay in the adult section.
Oh man, it was cool. She let me take off her training bra. I don't remember the kid's name, but I remember exactly. Like I remember where we were in Jennings Elementary, and I remember what he looked like. He had a very flowing, curly kid mullet, a wavy mullet.
It was the hair of the times.
Yeah, it was the times. That's what we really talked about in the Stranger Things days. It was. They need to bring that up. The kid hoe house.
The hoe house.
The
Hoe house for kids.
What you call it? Called Discovery Zone.
We're in the now. I think we're fully in the town hall corner.
Okay.
Have you guys ever had any scams committed upon you, or have you ever committed some?
I got shortchanged once.
You got shortchanged once
Yeah,
at Kroger's.
I was a checker. Yeah,
At Kroger's.
Kroger. No S. Kroger.
Well, is there more than one?
It's not. I'm not talking about more than one. I'm talking about a singular.
How many
Grocery
Krogers
store.
were you
And there's
scammed
it's
in?
called Kroger's.
His name was Ben Kroger. The store is called Kroger. I worked at Kroger.
But it's his store, Kroger's.
No,
It's his
he
store.
No,
founded it.
Albertsons is your store.
Yeah, no, I think
That's
you're thinking
plural.
Jewel Osco, or maybe Food Lion.
Alpha
Anyway,
Beta.
it was I was a really good sacker, and they promoted me to checker really fast because I was a really good employee for the good people at Kroger. It always got busy at about 5:30 or 6. And so you always have like 6 people in your line. This is back when you could still buy smokes at the checkout and everything. And there's no cameras anywhere back then. Nobody's really watching anything. There were probably 10 registers going, and either a family or people who were obviously together came through. They were all talking. They were loud in the line. All dudes. The dudes were kind of up front, like 3 really big guys, and bought like 5 things. And just talking the whole time and like kind of spread out around the register talking. I literally had been they don't give you training on this when you're a checker. And look, it's so obvious now, but I was not expecting this at all. They kind of casually give you some money and they're still talking. And then it's this very polite, like, oh shit. And you know, you've got, as soon as the till opens, you're counting money and they just kind of know, kind of based on timing, what's going on, that your till's still open, but you've removed some cash. And then they start like, I think I just gave you, like, oh shit. And it's real fast. And your line's long and there's this push. One of the guys is like walking towards the exit, kind of yelling, come on, let's go. It's like yelling to his friends to let go. And they're never really yelling at you. So there was never in this moment where I thought like, these guys are trying to take advantage of me. It was just they created a very hectic situation.
Right.
It ended up being like they got like $19, I think.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So my till was short $19. I had to figure out what it was. But I mean, now I've seen it like twice in my life. I've seen at grocery store, not at convenience stores, people in front of me in line try to do the same thing. Like it's really easy to spot the first time somebody does it to you, but it worked.
Yeah, I've worked so many tills and cash registers. Yeah, like I worked in pawn shops for years, so I got some people trying to actively scam us all day. Like, I got scammed one time. Was I trying to pawn his car and get a loan on his car, and he wanted an amount that we couldn't give him because we had to resell it, you know. But he was like, so I needed a car, so I told him that I would pay the other half of him personally. And we would give him a loan for like $1,300. I was like, I'll pay you the other $1,200 to get $2,500 for this vehicle, and then I'll just pay the loan off and get it out. He's like, cool. Well, so we did that, and I gave him the $1,300, and then he came in one day when I wasn't there, and the other employee didn't know that we had this arrangement, and he fucking just picked up the loan. I was like, yeah, you can get my car on a loan. So I just gave the guy $1,300 for nothing, and that felt like shit, man. It was like my income tax like 10 years ago.
Oh,
but,
wow.
that was a rough one. Also, like you said, if we've ever committed a scam, now that I don't have to worry about, I don't have a day job now. So if I worked in a place that was not mom and pop owned, and it was like a publicly traded company or a franchise, and if you're listening and you've ever employed me, yeah, I've ran some kind of game on you because I have no fucking, corporations are not people. I don't give a shit. If I catch you slipping, I will capitalize upon it. But if you're a mom and pop business owner or someone I respect, you're good. I'll never do anything to a real person or a citizen. But if your company is publicly traded and you guys haven't really done all your fucking homework, I'm the wrong guy to hire. I'll tell you that. Maybe I wasn't as young. I don't know. Maybe the inclination isn't there anymore. I don't know. I haven't had a day job in a minute.
I think working for a giant corporation would kill me so bad. Yeah, they're not people. They steal from Walmart, everyone. Steal from Best Buy. They like it.
The only company I respect is HEB. And at my brokest and my youngest, when I was like, new job, don't get a paycheck for 2 weeks, have $10 to my name. Yeah, I've taken advantage of the fact that I was a white guy with a shirt and a tie and just fucking walked out with my fucking card before. Just because I was like, hey, I have 3 weeks to my first check in this commission job. You know, like, so yeah, but yeah, Walmart, always okay. Always morally right.
Yeah.
Fuck them. Go ahead.
Yeah, HEB might be the one big corporation that gets a pass, gets a holy
It's
day.
what I respect. I saw a tweet. I was like, HEB, Texans love it because it's the closest thing we have to infrastructure. And like that just makes sense to me.
Yeah. Well, you spent a lot of time there too, right? And
yeah,
HEB sushi is pretty good.
it's not
Oh,
bad.
yeah, I bought HEB sushi today.
It's very
Yeah.
good. It's maybe some of the best in town. That's a
Just
whole
for
nother,
anybody
a whole
outside
other
of,
conversation.
outside of Central Texas, HEB is a grocery store chain. It's Texas. They treat their people really well. They have really good food.
Can't praise them highly enough.
So, Pat, what is the best way to sneak into a concert?
Oh, best way to sneak to a concert? That is easy. That is a black shirt, black pants, and a fucking rag in your back pocket.
Oh, like you're a stagehand.
Bottle of water, or a case of water bottles. Hey, hold up, coming through. Hold
What
up.
about instead of a case of water bottles, what about a bag of ice?
Bag of ice? Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it. As a door guy, and like I've almost been a door guy like hundreds of times, which I guess is not shocking when you look at it. I've been a door guy, but yeah, I don't give a shit. I don't feel like checking IDs when shit's like stressful. It's like South by, and you come in, and there's like you have a rag hanging on your thing. There's something on your wrist. You're carrying a bag of ice.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, come on in, man. Oh shit! Yeah, come on in, shoot Modest Mouse. Where the fuck is your
What if you have a dolly that you don't care about that you're willing just to abandon? Can you roll into a dolly anywhere?
I'll let a guy in my own fucking house if he has a dolly. Yeah, you tried hard enough. Come on in.
Come on, hang on.
I got scammed. Well, actually, just the other day, in that I was dumb and left my my laptop in the TSA at the airport in Minneapolis. I left my laptop because they made me confused and I was late for the flight. So anyway, and I'm going to get on my computer on the flight and I was like, fuck. And then so the second I land, I go and I sit down and I start making phone calls to the airport. And of course, nobody's answering anything. So then I was like, TSA lost and found. And the first thing that came up was just the most like official looking Minneapolis shit. Lost and found.
Oh,
we'll take care of it. And it was $40. It was like, well, yeah, you give us $40. It's some kind of fee for doing it. And we'll track it down. You put in all this information, gave him the $40. And then I don't know, like immediately tried to, I'll try and make a phone call again, and then did another thing and realized like, oh, here's the real website.
Oh no.
Here's the actual website that you're supposed to call. And here's the same form, only there's no fee on it anywhere. And I think there's a lot of those. I think there's especially like concert tickets and shit like that. Like it is they know how to like rig that Google game to where the first thing that pops up is that.
Yeah, that's just terrifying, man. Like especially if it's something like they know people are looking for it, you're panicked, you're freaking out, you're like, oh, my fucking laptop. You're probably not doing the due diligence. You're just like, what? Okay, whatever. American Airlines. Boom,
yeah, totally.
Right. Well, in that $40 line, I mean, that's the sweet spot, right? That's the smart amount.
Yeah,
you could even,
fuck it. Let's go.
Yeah, and you could even explain like, no, it's still a service.
Yeah,
people are so frazzled, they're traveling. We take care of it for them.
And
they
we're
don't
going
have to worry
pay
about
for your
it.
shipping,
Right.
And there's all that. Yeah, because honestly, like 50, I would have gone like, wait a minute. But 40
is a perfect
the maximum amount that I'm like, I guess no, that sounds right.
I think $40 got desensitized me from years of buying drugs. That should be like a somewhat alarming amount of money, like 40 fucking bucks. But just I've forked over specifically $40 so many times in my life.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's so weird what like $40 is a lot. And when it's like $40 for like 4 drinks or 5 drinks in LA or something like that. And then I go somewhere like, man, this band's really good. I like them a lot. And I can tell they're struggling on the road and I'd like to help them, but $40 for a T-shirt and a record. Come on, for two things I'm going to keep forever,
right?
And enjoy
never
forever.
get rid of.
Yeah, shit. Like, you can spend you buy 3 tacos, a Gatorade, and a fucking Red Bull from a gas station, and you're like over 30. You're almost at 40 at that point.
Yeah. I almost got scammed. I take it back. I immediately caught the scam when it happened. There was a moment that I was immediately like, "Oh, you motherfucker!" I got a DM on Instagram, and it looked like a dude. I didn't go way back into his thing, but I immediately like, "Oh, is this a real person?" And it looked like a real person. I was like, "Hey, my kid's a really big fan of your band. Can I will you write a birthday song for him? How much will you charge or whatever? I think you said, I'll give you $500 or something like that." And I've written birthday songs for friends for just even like some people that have just hit me up. Like, would you do this for my wife or whatever? I guess I should, I don't know, since this is going out, I should go, it's always $1,000, but it's been way cheaper in the past when it's happened, And so I was like, it's a thing that I've done before. So I was just kind of like,
just real quick, when you say birthday song, what makes a birthday song? Is it like 30 seconds? Is it just is it a jingle? Like what?
Yeah, I kind of do a jingle where it's just been kind of like, I don't know. It's always been a thing where well, tell me 10 things about them, and I'll just kind of try and squeeze it into like a silly little song.
You sing a Mad Lib to him.
Actually, I'm not going to ask him to do it, but Pat is an amazing rapper, and you can give him 5. You got to go see his group. They're called Vanilla Presley, and people will shout out like 10, 5, 8 topics, and he'll freestyle them all into a thing.
That's awesome.
It's really amazing.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, it's a neat little human trick that gets us paid.
yeah, totally. I mean, so it'd be like if somebody was like, "Hey, can you do this for?" So I'm like, "Oh yeah, I can do that. Tell me some things about your kid." And I should have been a little bit, because he told me he gave me a couple facts, and they were a little too vague and generic, and I should have. But I actually kind of started fucking around with the song and started thinking about it and stuff. I hadn't recorded anything. So we went back and forth a little bit, and he was always really insistent, "Hey, is this cool? Is this cool? Are we going to do this?" And he was really aggressive about it. And finally I'm like, yeah. And he was like, "Okay, cool." And I think we agreed on, I guess it was 500 or whatever. And then immediately it was like, "Hey, this crazy thing just went down. My assistant accidentally wrote a check for $1,200, but I trust you. And so they're going to send you the check, just deposit it. And then you can just, you can just Venmo me the rest back." And I'm mad at myself now, because I should have played him for a long time, but I immediately got mad. Was like, "Fuck you! You're no good at scamming people. Suck my dick, motherfucker." But in retrospect, I wish I would have just strung it out for a long time and been like, "Yeah, oh no, that check, I lost it. Can you send me another one?"
Dude, I had a comedian friend of ours. I don't know a friend of ours, but I don't remember Gene Getman. But
I remember Gene Getman.
Yeah. He's strung a scammer along with time. And the guy was like, "Come on, man, I really need to send you the checks." And he was like, "Well, I can't because I'm fishing." And he's like, "I don't have my phone." He goes, "And how are you talking to me?" He's like, "I'm on my laptop." The guy's like, "On a boat? Really? You're on your laptop on a boat?" He's like, "I am." And it was just a great conversation.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, those online scammer things. I had this dude. I know a guy that I hang out at one of the bars in my neighborhood with, and he's a tough dude, San Antonio guy, into an illicit trade. And he's gonna call from him or message from me one day on Instagram. He's like, "Hey, bro, I've been buying a lot of Bitcoin lately, and you should too." And I was like, "Man, I was like, you. I don't know if you did any research on the guy you're trying to pretend to be." I was like, "But you have missed the fucking mark by a mile, sir." And he's like, "Dog, come on, dog. I'm making a lot of money." I was just like, "No, this trust me, you're failing your character work here."
Yeah. I feel pretty immune to most of the ones I hear about. I'm like, I don't think that would go down. The only scary ones are there's this drug in Colombia where it's called the devil's breath, and it's kind of like the zombie powder that they would do in Haiti and stuff. But this just kind of knocks you out for. It's made off this plant called the baracha. It's like a name that translates to the drunk flower, but it's a specific drug. It's called can't remember. Anyway, but it's a whole thing, and chicks do it to dudes, and there's a rule that's the 410 rule, and it means that when you're down there in Colombia, if you're a 4, and a girl's a 10 that's coming on to you, like she's trying to scam you. You got to know your attractiveness rating because these women, they'll come and they'll blow this powder in your face or they'll put it in your drink. And it just makes you like be docile and down for anything. And then you kind of wake up like, 6-8 hours later. A lot of these dudes will wake up in a park, and like some of them have stories where it was like literally like they went home and helped these women and some other dudes that show up just clean out their entire apartment. And like the door guy was like, no, you said these were your friends and they were moving some stuff. And they'll be like, I don't remember doing that, but you absolutely did. And it's just this. That would be the scam because that is playing on your ego that, oh, yeah, no, these hot chicks would want to talk to me. All these Jennifer Lopez looking gals, why wouldn't they be attracted to old Mike Wiebe?
Mom was right about me.
Yeah, no, that's why I feel like just from years of like growing up as like a fat kid and getting teased, like one benefit of that is I know what's up. This ain't right. Like, why are you here? Why are you sitting next to me? Come on, girl.
Yeah. I know. That's why any strip club I've ever been in, I just like I can't suspend the disbelief that you're just want to chat it up with me on my lap, stranger.
Right.
All these other guys are so boring.
Yeah.
Right.
I just want to hang out at this table.
Right.
They're making me go. Unless you pay me some money, they're going to make me go.
My friend lied to a stripper and told her we had cocaine. One time she came back and hung in our house. We didn't have any cocaine. She got there. She was so mad. I was like, what are you going to do when she gets here? It's like, I was going to see if the neighbor had some. And she just showed up and like hung out, like texted for like 5 minutes. Was just like, well, I'm going to leave.
I got some yellow jackets from the gas station.
His name like old ass drugs. Like, yeah, I got some black beauties. I got the original Quaaludes.
You ever snort nutmeg? It's like cocaine.
Dry out these banana peels.
Yeah. Did you used to read those like old drug trip experiences on Arrowhead.com?
No.
This is like this. It was like this early 2000s internet site. I'm sure it's still up.
Yeah.
But people like write about drug experiences. You go there and click, and like of course like the heroin ones are usually about addiction, but they have these weird ass ones where it's like nutmeg or whatever. Like the guy like smoked caffeine or some crazy shit like that, and have all these weird ass tales and stories and experiences. And I just read those, and my mom went through my search browser history. Like, there was some porn, but there was just a lot of like drug trip shit. She's like, what the fuck are you reading?
I want to take the ayahuasca route and find myself, Mom.
But fucking startup's never going to get off the ground if I don't fucking pay this guy $12.50 to guide me through an ayahuasca trip, Mom.
That's got to be the newest scam, right? Like I'm the psychedelic guru to the tech bros. That's got to be.
We did a story on that.
Yeah, that's been happening.
Wasn't it kind of like 10, 15 years ago? It was basically a smoke tent. Well, they'll tarp over like a sweat lodge. Yeah. And I don't know if the drugs were involved, but like, and somebody died, and that's how it kind of got out that people were doing this. But
they're like fasting for like 3 days and just stuck in a fucking sweaty teepee. Jesus Christ!
Like that's no startup cost at all.
Yeah.
I got a tarp, and then I cannot feed you for 3 days and make you miserable.
Got to go buy a linen robe and then off to the races.
Right. Like get a pedicure. Your feet gonna look good, I think, if you're gonna play the part. If some good looking feet walk in there and like ring a bell you ring every once in a while. Like, don't explain it. Just a bell rings.
Hey, so Pat, where can people find you? Where's your podcast?
So if you are if you like podcast, true crime podcast, I do one called Lie, Cheat, Steal. You can find us on Patreon. Well, we're on Patreon as well. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google, Stitcher, iTunes, all that shit. We have a Patreon as well if you like what you hear. But it's just stories about liars, frauds, thieves, and bullshitters. And
it's a great podcast. It's one of my favorites. I love I listened to the Henry Hill one just the other day, which was great.
We found the full Henry Hill episode to like compliment all the times we've been having Henry Hill moments.
Yeah,
that was cool.
That was great.
In honor of Ray Liotta.
One time Henry Hill, and I don't even think I should have even looked it up, see if it was on YouTube, but Henry Hill was on Geraldo, like later era Henry Hill, and like he was real gacked out and just like moving around and grinding his jaw, and Geraldo like puts his hand on Henry Hill's like knee and goes, "Henry, you're using again, aren't you?" And he's just like, no, man, no. He's like, "Henry, I can tell you're using. You're on drugs right now," in front of the whole crowd. And it was this weird, like, oh, I feel so bad for Henry Hill. Completely a piece of shit, but still, like, I like the made up version of you so much.
There was a comic, like a shitty promoter in New England when I was up there doing shows when I first started, and this dude like got a bar to let him run a show there, and the owner was like, "Yeah, whatever, take the fucking doors, doing your little comedy shows, or whatever." And he did a few weeks of those, and then somehow he stumbled into like getting Henry Hill's booking fee, and got Henry Hill to do a speaking engagement, and like sold the fucking place out. It's Middletown, Connecticut, and it's Henry Hill.
Yeah. So I think anywhere. I mean, if Henry Hill was alive and doing a show now, I'd be like, I gotta blow up the podcast, gotta go to the Henry Hill thing.
It's like, I guess he made like a bunch of fucking money, and the bar owner didn't live in Connecticut. He lived in LA. And he was like, but motherfucker, he's like, you told me you're gonna be having little comedy shows with your friends, not that you were gonna invite a dude in who can charge $20 a ticket. And he was like, just got all the door off that minus Henry Hill's fee, and like just was able to like squeeze a fucking $15,000 night out of this guy who thought he would just be hosting local comedians.
Nice. That's so good.
Yeah, that's what I'm at. You can also find me. I'm on Twitter, Instagram. It's at PZTX. That's PEEZY TX. I'm going to be on tour all throughout, like fucking out of like the Gulf states, and then out in your Georgias, your South Carolinas, the Alabamas, the Floridas. That's going to be all in October, November. You can find that on my Twitter, Instagram, all the states.
So yeah, check out that podcast. I have not listened, but Mike's a big fan, and I trust him.
Good taste.
I was told to give a backhanded compliment. So. Right. There it is.
There's Kevin bragging about not listening to your podcast.
Kevin's a master of accidentally giving backhanded compliments.
Hell yeah.
So we're still waiting on it.
So that wraps up another week of the International News Service. Find us across social media at International News Pod. Email us at internationalnewspod@gmail.com. Our psychic visions are telling us that the best way to cure your health ailments is to tell your friends about INS. Check out the INS merch store at Redbubble and our Patreon. We'll see you next week.
See you in hell.
Thank you for listening to the International News Service. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. INS, the news you need.